Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here doing my review for the RWBY Volume 8 season premiere. Um, it was an interesting one. First off, I have to say a bunch of different things. Random. Oh, this is a signed picture. My friend got me that for my birthday. It just came in like the other week, so that's got to be in there. If you've never seen my reviews for RWBY, I got these pillows like years ago, so whenever somebody does something important, they're up here, so they're important today. Also, as of today, I'm a dad of 2 weeks. This is like my 1 day of freedom. I am trying to bust this junk out. That's also why this review is so late. I watched it when it premiered, but I had to rewatch it, of course, because I didn't have time to review it. So I rewatched it, wrote some notes down, checked out like another review, read some comments, be like, okay, what am I forgetting? Because we always forget a trillion things from the any season. If you're like me, I forget everything from the last season. I'm like, I remember this big thing happened, and then this random thing happened, and then I forget all the details in between. So I had to read some comments to be like, okay, what don't I remember? Like, all right, they're doing this, they're doing that. They didn't really touch too much on some of the stuff that happened last season. It really was just like everything that happened last season happened. Here's the reaction. So it's like you kind of had to remember, like there wasn't much of a recap situation. Which I guess if there was, they would have realized some of the weird stuff that happened in this episode, which once again, the comments really helped me with that one to be like, oh yeah, that is weird that's suddenly what the whole giant plan of the season is. But we're going to go through it. So Volume 8 starts with the episode Divide. Made perfect sense. It's pretty much like the theme of the season. Like the main characters end up branching off into their two big plans. But we start off, I was not the only person. Million comments. Thank God for comments, because I wouldn't have even caught this. I was just like, I know that Cinder in the beginning, it didn't register. It just didn't click until I read the comment. I was like, oh, Cinderella. Never knew it. Never got it. So that was Cinder as Cinderella. She's scrubbing the floor and everything. I was like, okay. That being the first clip of the season means that I think it's official at this point. I kind of always assumed this would happen. I figured it would either end up being Cinder. Unfortunately, I thought it would be Adam, because they clearly had a plan to make Adam like huge, because even though he was technically not as strong, every time they showed Adam fight, he was the strongest person. They never showed Adam lose, literally, until he straight up died. That was like the only time Adam lost ever in the entire series, was when he just died. So I was like, okay, it's probably going to be Cinder and Adam as like the final two villains of the series. And obviously Adam's gone, unfortunately. So Cinder obviously is going to take over. Like, I don't know what they're going to do to beat Salem. Odds are they're going to do the classic. It's, every show has it, where it's like, it's the heroes and it's the villains. And then there's that one cool episode. It's like a two-parter, maybe a three-parter. The heroes and the villains team up, because then that new villain comes in and is like, you know what? We're the good guys. We hate all of you. And it's like, well, I'm the bad guy, but I hate that bitch. So it's like, yeah. And then that's what happens. So they kill the new big bad, and then, the main big bad comes back. Because Cinder was the main villain until, Salem came in. It was Cinder, Torchwick. Sadly, Torchwick died. So then it was like, all right, Cinder, Salem's the big bad, and now she's officially in. They're probably going to beat her this season. If they don't do it this season, then they kind of have to. I would assume they have to do it this season. I mean, she's right there. It's like, I don't know what else they could do, or how they can, find a logical way to even escape the town without flat out, killing this woman. So it'll be interesting to see, because there's so much stuff going on where it's like a lot of people are not happy with a lot of their own people. Like the villains are not happy with each other. The heroes aren't particularly happy with each other. So there's a lot going on where, it's already like three factions, where you have Mantle and Ironwood and, Aesop's and stuff like that. Then you have Team RWBY, then you have the villains. And now it's like, all right, well, Team RWBY is split. Obviously, Aesop's we knew that was going to happen in the last volume, that they were already going to be against them. That's official now. And then Cinder, of course, doesn't like Salem. Who knows what the F Neo's going to end up doing, because she's super pissed. It's like, oh, so you got that off Ironwood, huh? So there's a million things. Like, everybody seems to hate everybody. So I'm like, this could lead to an amazing volume. No joke. It could be utterly amazing with all the crazy dynamics and the decisions people have to make. Or it could be stupid. So, getting into it. The Cinderella thing. I was like, all right, if that's where we're starting, this volume is going to be insanely important for Cinder. So I'm looking forward to that. I've always liked her character, even though she admittedly doesn't do anything. I always thought she was still kind of cool. I was like, okay, that's an interesting thing. She had that fight against Neo, which is one of my favorite songs. She looks cool. Yeah, that's really it. That's all she has. She really doesn't have anything. So I'm looking forward to some actual content for her character. Like, she just looks cool, and she's like the villain that keeps on trying. So we'll see what happens. Just going in order. So I thought that was pretty cool. Emerald's new outfit. Nice. Very nice. Mercury's outfit, it's okay. I feel like it's too similar to his old costume, where it's like, okay, it's so much gray. It's like a little bit of orange, and technically it's just a long jacket instead of like the short sleeves, which I think, no, technically it was always a long sleeve jacket. I think the short sleeve thing was like a flashback stuff. So it's always been a long sleeve jacket, and it's just like it's slightly different. Like his outfit, I feel like it changed so little. I was like, it might as well have been the exact same outfit. Like he did. I think it's just a bigger jacket. I think that's really it because they're cold, so it's a bigger jacket. But Emerald looks fantastic. She always look hot, but great jacket. Still midriff, so I'm like, you're still gonna be cold. It's just like Blake, and like your stomach's out, you're gonna be cold. Like it is what it is. I guess the aura protects you from the cold sometimes. So that was cool. Hazel, who I literally wrote as big guy because I don't care about Hazel like at all. And I just wrote whatever because his costume is like, I think his costume's worse. Admittedly, that's just my personal opinion. But yeah, whatever. Tyrion didn't get a new one, which I do think was kind of interesting. I'm surprised they didn't really switch it up, even though he was in the town, in the last season. I still think they could have switched it up. Although I don't even remember. I don't know if the costume he's wearing now is new from when he originally came into the series, but I think it is the same. I think he's always had the same costume. I think it's like, maybe it's slightly different. I think that's what it is. So they didn't decide to change it again because typically they give you like 2 or so volumes and then, they switch it up. So I was like, all right, he doesn't get one. I didn't really care. But I was like, all right, new costume for Emerald. Definitely number one epic moment. So then, of course, we have the teams and they're talking about everything that's going down and how things are crazy now. And it's like, all right, they found Oscar. They just found him. Something that I didn't even register how fast that happened when I actually watched the episode until I read comments. And I was like, that was really odd that they found him that fast. Like, it was instantaneous. He was just, he was slumming it. The little mole man gave him some soup and he drank it. He took which I thought was super weird. I thought that was the thing I noticed out of that whole scene. He gave him a bowl of soup and he was like, thanks. I was like, are they sharing the soup, or is that what was supposed to be happening in that scene? Because that seemed really weird to me. He took a sip and it was like, okay, here you go. I was like, okay, I guess that was happening. I don't know. Either way, they found him instantaneously, so maybe we'll get a flashback. We don't really know how long he's been there. We don't know exactly how much time has really passed, but I don't think it's been much, because even at the end of the episode, they pretty much say like, hey, when the random girl comes in to talk to Ironwood, she's like, all right, we got the prisoners in. And they were being picked up at the end of the last volume. So it was like, all right, that was probably like 20, 30 minutes or something like that. Like, it couldn't have been that much time between the season finale and what happened right now. Although it does seem, that is one of those things. Like, they're kind of just sitting around. So it was like, it could have been like an hour or something. Like, a slightly decent amount of time. But still, they found him. And there was no real reaction to it. It was like, he didn't know that it was Team RWBY. And then they pick him up, and then there was nothing to be like, this is how we found you, or this is how we thought to find you. It's not like they talked to Ironwood and was like, where'd you shoot him? It's like, so I don't know how they found him, but they found him. So Oscar's back with the team. He's keeping Ozpin a secret from them, which secrets always work, right? So we'll see how that plays out. This is the one case where I think it could, for once, I think it could work. Because RWBY does some stuff. This is officially like the second thing that I hate in pretty much all writing. The first thing, which RWBY is definitely guilty of because they have superpowers, but when they found out the past and everything, they were like, magic can't exist. I really hate that. In every show that I watch, I hate that, and that pissed me off when they did it then. It was like, well, magic is fake. I'm like, you can turn into flower petals and basically like teleport and separate your body and come back together. Like, this girl makes shadow clones. Like, just dumb stuff. And they're like, magic can't exist. I was like, that's so stupid. Like, it's crazy. They do that in every show though, so it's not just RWBY. But then of course the keeping secrets thing, and that's just annoying in all shows because it's the same thing over and over again. Like, I'm not gonna tell the team, and then of course we know they're gonna tell them like 4 or 5 episodes later anyway, and everyone's gonna be mad about it. And sometimes it's like, oh, that's what the character does, and it's okay. And then it's stuff like RWBY where like in the last volume, it just didn't make sense. Like, it was really, I think everybody was on the same page. Like, okay, this is why we are okay with what Ironwood's doing. Like, when it's like crazy Ironwood, even him shooting the dude at the end of the episode, this is why people are okay. Because it's like, where we wouldn't be? If everyone just was like, hey, this is what we believe, this is what's happening, here's the truth about everything, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have teams split in half, or the heroes fighting against other heroes while the villains are swarming in. But they're keeping secrets from this dude who's like, hey, I'm trying to tell the whole world, which, terrible idea. That's a terrible idea. Let's keep all these secrets. You know what? We should tell the whole world. That's what's happening this volume. That's half the volume now, is doing what they said they shouldn't do. Okay. Her. Just saying. She's hopeful, but she's dumb as hell. She's being real stupid lately. I don't know what they're doing with the writing stuff, but RWBY has been getting on my nerves in this last volume. And so now that's the whole, half the team is like, we should definitely do what Ironwood was going to do that we didn't want him to do. and we totally kept a full secret from him. And also Yang screwed up too, because remember how she told Robin their whole secret, and she was just like, I trust Robin, let's go for it. And that screwed things up too, because then he had to launch the stuff early, and so then that screwed things over because it wasn't ready yet, but the secret got put out there, so even the villains didn't actually know 100%. They were searching at the time, but that's how pretty much everyone found out. It was just like, this is why y'all stupid. This is why he shot Oscar. Stuff like that. I was like, they're acting like a bunch of twats. I was like, I get it. I get why he would shoot somebody. He's like, hey, it was a kid, but he shot that kid, and it is what it is. I'm all out of order because I'm just like, it's just some of the ideas that they have. But anyway, the team talks. This is what we should do. We should protect the city right now. We should tell the entire world. It's a little, and now Ironwood, who was going to tell the world, he's kind of had to revert his plan. So basically his plan now is pretty much Yang's plan, which is we got to protect, where we are at this very moment, because, like, we don't have time to spend resources on trying, to do that. Like, we need to all huddle together as a team and fight right here and then, survive right now. So I get where both sides are coming from. Granted, obviously, if Team RWBY wasn't totally screwing over Ironwood to begin with, I guess things would be very, very different. But the teams end up splitting up. So we have Team Save Atlas, which is Yang, Ren, Jean, and Oscar. Thought that was pretty cool. And then, of course, Team Tell Remnant, all of a sudden, RWBY, which is the craziest thing. Because if anything, you think it would have been Yang. Like, it would have made way more sense because it wouldn't. I guess it doesn't matter. They all followed RWBY. They all believed it. So, Yang, that's why I have the two pillars here. They are our new leaders for this. So RWBY's leading her team. So it's RWBY, Nora, Weiss, Blake, and Penny. And then, of course, Yang is leading her team. So we have Team Mantle / Atlas, and then Team Remnant, I guess. Team Spread the Word, which suddenly they want to spread the word. So there's that. We'll see how that ends up playing out. And it was still a fine episode. I enjoyed the episode personally. I was like, okay. I wish it was like a bit more epic, because it was definitely kind of a slow burn starter, and it was just like, okay, we're kind of into it. It felt like, admittedly, just a normal episode kind of going into it, but there is a lot to explain, because definitely, especially with the opening for this volume, it seems like we're going to have a pretty serious season, and I'm looking forward to that. It feels like we're getting back to volume 3 a little bit, where it's like, okay, this seems to be the tipping point again, where it's like, okay, we built up, we built up and we built up again. So now we hit volume 8, and it's like, all right, now things have to fall down. Like, we've ramped, and the heroes have tried to do everything they've done, which was be stupid, and they traveled for like an entire season, and so now they're finally here. And now we have to see them do something. And I don't think everybody's going to make it out. Like, something drastic is going to happen here, and I don't know who they're going to kill, but I feel like somebody important is actually going to die, not like Clover. No offense to him. But, meh, like, if Harriet died, I would have been upset. That would have really hurt me. But it was Clover, so I don't care. But we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. I liked the episode. I thought it was a fine episode. I don't think it was, like, great. It was just like, okay, I'm excited. It was an episode that was the lead-up episode, where it's like, okay, it's weird to have it be, like, that sort of episode where it's obviously the premiere. But that's what this episode was. It was definitely like, all right, every single thing I saw excited me. Like, Cinder obviously isn't happy with Salem. Neo isn't happy with Cinder. Who knows what's going to happen with Emerald, because she's been wanting to see Cinder for so long. Her first interaction is like, hey, and it's like silence, and she shuts her right up. And I'm like, okay, so we're going to get more backstory on Cinder. She's probably going to betray Salem. Neo's probably going to betray her. Emerald may or may not team up with Neo, but I don't know how much she cares about Cinder personally and stuff like that. Like, that's the hard part. Like, Emerald's kind of the wild card in that. Like, she might team up with Neo. She might decide to stick with Cinder. I don't really know what Mercury's going to do, but they made it very clear that Emerald is going to have more of a story than Mercury, because she's been the one who's like, I care about actually getting back with Cinder, and Mercury's just been the dude like, I want to be on the winning team. I don't have, I lost my semblance because of my father, and then like had to kill that dude. So, like, I like his story, but they made it clear, like, he's kind of just like, I think the big bad's going to win, and she's kind of like on the underdog side of things. It was like, I kind of just want to team up with Cinder. So I'm excited to see what they do with Emerald, because I think that's going to be a key factor into how things play pretty much on the whole villain side. Like, we know what Cinder wants to do. Like, it's really obvious. She's going to want to take over. But Emerald's the one where it's like, is she going to just follow this woman blindly, or is she going to end up kind of doing her own thing? And, we'll see how that dynamic plays out. But that's what I'm admittedly most excited for, is like, what are they going to do with Cinder, Emerald, and Neo? Because they're the ones where I'm like, I can't really guess how it's going to work, or if it's even going to work. I can guess mostly what Cinder's gonna do. You don't really know with Neo. It's hard to tell. And with Emerald, like I said, she might just want to stick with Cinder just because, or she might eventually just be like, you're too far gone. Like, you and Salem are both too far gone. And, who knows? Who knows? Like, a lot of people, I've read a bunch of comments, people were like, Neo's definitely going to end up teaming up with the heroes. I personally don't think that's going to happen because she hates Ruby way too much. Because once she stopped that fight with Cinder, it was like, hey, I didn't get him killed. That's Ruby. Like, blame the heroes on that one. And I think Neo will. So I think she'll still stay a villain, but she might end up being kind of on the solo side of things. And she's one of the people that I think could pull it off if she decided to just go, like, rogue agent and was just like, I hate everybody, screw you guys, because of her illusions. They would, the one day I get off, the one day of freedom I have from being a dad, they want to effing cut down trees and have the dumb wood chipper out there. The one day. What a time to be alive. So, episode was fine. Then we got a new opening. I like the opening. I think the song's okay. It's still, I don't think anything for me at this point. It was volume 1 for a long time, but volume 3, that opening for volume 3 is like just the craziest thing. I love that opening. So it definitely has those vibes. It doesn't have that, nothing's gonna top. I don't think anything can top volume 3 for me, but I do like the song. I thought it was a good song. Visuals, I thought were phenomenal. We got to see a ton. I think the opening had like every single bit of the story that's gonna happen this volume was in that opening. It was like, hey, here's this character doing this. Here's this little reference to that. Here's this happening. Like, every person that's going to be relevant got a little moment. So I wrote, with all my notes here, I wrote a bunch of stuff down. So, of course, we knew Salem needed Oscar. So I thought that was cool. She also has wings. I don't know if we'll get to see that, but I think we will. Even though I think it was either 4 or 5 when they had, like, the giant thing. And by the end of that volume, it ended up being, like, a vision that Emerald ended up making. So technically, we did get to see, like, that giant version of Salem, but it wasn't really her. So I don't know if it'll be another illusion or if we'll just see her actually get wings. Because if she goes on the actual attack, and I think I said this in the last volume, if she is actually here to fight, she needs to actually fight, which is the one thing. That's why I'm like, if it doesn't end this volume, then that's because she didn't do it herself. Because I'm like, she's immortal. She could literally just drop down. If she wanted to kill everybody, she could kill them. I'm pretty sure on her own. Like, that's just a guess because she's literally magic and literally immortal. I'm just saying, she's like she's a one-woman army. She could do it, but, writing and stuff, like, no one ever does it. No one ever just says the villain just, actually dives in and does it themselves. So, we gotta wait and see. But Salem, of course, needs Oscar. We'll see if the whole wing thing pops up. The Nora and Ren stuff, I thought it was interesting. I like how they showed. They had, like, 2 little moments, and it was like, okay, obviously their relationship is, which apparently was a new thing. I don't even want to go into that rant because I thought they were already together, and then the kiss was supposed to be a big deal, and I rambled that whole review because I was like, I just assumed they already kissed after they fought the Nekleviv. I was like, that was the moment where, even if it was off screen, I was like, they're together now. I just assumed that was the thing. Apparently not. So they have their first struggle ever as friends / a couple, if that's what they are now after their first kiss, apparently. But they're kind of struggling to see, what's going to happen. Obviously, they split them apart so that, there's that dynamic to it. So I'm like, all right, we'll see what happens. And some people reference that maybe they're referencing that Nora could possibly become the new Spring Maiden. And I thought that was really interesting because they do have that one scene where there's this little petal. It's a sakura blossom, which of course is representing spring. And the thing I noticed, I was like, okay, so Ren catches it and then he lets it go. And then Nora tries to catch it, but it goes past her. And so for me, I was like, okay, that has something to do with their stability as far as, like, their relationship and what it's going to be. And, like, Ren is able to kind of process it a bit faster than she is because that's kind of their characters. Like, he's super calm and collected. Even if it bothers him, he'll find a way to kind of cope with it and then be like, all right, this is what it is. I'll let go of that issue. And then for Nora, that's not the case. But considering it was, a sakura blossom petal, I was like, okay, that could be a reference to the Spring Maiden. And, it could be like Ren had the chance to do it, but he let it go. But then it also slips past Nora. Maybe they both end up in the same moment, and then he ends up becoming the new Spring Maiden. One of the other things about Sakura Blossoms is, of course, the fact that, it's like, 2 weeks? So the lifespan of a Sakura Blossom is very short. He caught it and let it go, and then she couldn't catch it at all. So I don't know if I don't know. There's a lot to look into that. So I was like, it wouldn't be that crazy, the whole Spring Maiden thing. So I was like, all right, that could happen. We shall see. But I thought that was cool. I was like, all right, there's something in there for sure. So it's either good or it's bad. So we shall see what happens. The little chessboard thing, Ironwood didn't have any pieces. They're just kind of enforcing that whole thing where it's like, he's on his own. Like, that's just kind of his thing. Like, he's been by himself. He had Aesop's in the last volume, and now it's like the whole chessboard was like, they didn't show the other characters, but they showed all the Grimm. Like, Salem was letting all the Grimm out, and then it's Ironwood by himself. Like, that's just his thing. He's like, and he even says, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And so that's what he's doing. Like, he kind of has to go it alone because everybody else is either distraught. Aesop is like, oh, Clover's dead. So you got 3 members who are just like, oh, that's really sad. And then, new waifu Harriet, she's the one who's going to go after Crow because that's why they have the split in the opening where everyone else is by themselves. But Harriet is on the left side of the pendant. And then Crow is on the other side and he's in jail with Robin. So it's like, okay, she's going to be the most important out of the Aesops for this volume, which is the wise choice, of course. So we'll see how that ends up playing out because I'm like, eventually it's once again, it's just the truth is like the easiest thing. It's like, hey, we teamed up and I thought things were gonna work. Granted, Crow was being a dumbass, but Clover died. It just happened. Like, the bad guy beat him. There you go. Like, Crow was being stupid. So was Clover. I think I mentioned I think Clover was the one who was being really dumb because it was like, I'm still everybody was stupid. Everybody was stupid and he died. It is what it is now. But Crow can just be like, hey, we teamed up. We kind of fought as well. And then, he died. Sorry. I don't know how that's going to play out for him, but it is what it is. It is now. He's dead. It's something. I don't know. And then Crow's in jail, Robin's in jail. There's not much they can do. It's like, I'm mad at you. Like, I doubt Harriet. Actually, Harriet would be the one to actually lose it and kill him even if he was in prison, but I don't think they're going to kill off Crow, so who the F knows? Like, that's why I said, like, this season could be amazing. Like, there's a million things that could happen. Oscar not telling the truth, that could be amazing. For once, it could actually be cool because it's like, we could get him talking with Ozpin and we get kind of his insight on things and have Ozpin actually talk to him just calmly and where he's not freaking out or leaving because, they discovered the secret because, he was about to punch Ruby straight in her face and then the secret came out and he was like, well, I'm leaving. And he left and he just abandoned them because he didn't want to talk anymore. So it was like, if we can get Ozpin actually talking and explaining some stuff and we get more out of him, I'm all for it. If that means that Oscar has to keep that a secret, that Ozpin came back, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with that happening where it's like, he's not going to tell them like, yeah, he's totally back 100%. But it's like, if we can get those conversations, if we can see those conversations, more importantly, I'll be fine with that. That's like the one time keeping that secret could work because I think if Ozpin, if everyone's asking questions, Ozpin will just go hiding again or he just won't say stuff. So I think if Oscar kind of keeps that secret, it's like, all right, I can accept that. So we might get that. That could be amazing. Who knows what's going to happen with the villains, with the heroes and Harriet and all this other stuff. Ironwood, with the big iron on his hip. That's for my New Vegas fans out there. So he's got 2 guns now. So I don't know why, but for whatever reason, he thinks, man, I lost an arm. I need to replace it with a gun, even though I replaced my arm with what I assume is like a 10 times stronger robot arm. But he's got 2 guns now, and the new gun looks different. Like, the hilt isn't completely silver like his other gun. It's actually black like his other arm. I thought that was super cool. It sucks that he did lose his other arm, because I thought they were going to show that in the last volume, but it is official. They had to, take the arm off, so now he's got, like, the cool, the black arm, but his other hand, he still leaves the white glove on. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, he still leaves the glove on and stuff, kind of like his old costume. He doesn't just show both arms, because they look different, too. So I thought that was actually kind of a sweet idea, where it's like, all right, he lost the other arm as well, but they made it, like, the cool black robotic arm and stuff, and I was like, that's cool. That's a nice idea. And then he gets a second gun, and it's got black, because like his arm is black, and then the other one's white because his other arm is, it's like the silver robot arm. So I was like, that's cool. It's a cool idea. I like it. It's neat. Random thing. Zwei is in the opening. That's just nice. Let's see what else I got here. Oh yeah, Aesops. I just put a question mark. Outside of Harry, I don't know what they're gonna do with those characters. But yeah. So RWBY doing, like, this is my last note. RWBY is doing Ironwood's plan, basically. That's just interesting. And I don't know what to think about that. I was like, after all that stuff they did, all the BS of the last volume, and keeping secrets, and, Yang even says, like, we followed you, and here we are. This is where things have led us. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what we should truly expect from this, but I am excited. As always, I'm excited because I'm like, you know that there are so many things that could happen, but we just have to wait and see. We will see what happens. I hope that the volume's really good. I feel like the most logical thing at this point is they have to have this just be a ridiculous thing. They have to defeat Salem, because I believe they're going to kill Salem. Like, she's going to try. She might kill a couple people. They might, bring in a bunch of older characters and stuff and be like, okay, you guys were cool and you got, like, new costumes and stuff, but you're not really important, so we'll just kill you off. She might wipe out a couple people. The villains will take somebody down. multiple people, I would assume. And then they ultimately defeat her. Cinder is able to escape. Depending on what Neo and Emerald do, they might end up going off with her. So we just kind of have to wait and see. But this, I feel like, has to be pretty much like how Volume 3 kind of just flipped the script. I think that's where we are. I think by the time we get to the end of this volume, Volume 9 is going to be just like how Volume 3 was like, all right, well, that changed. And then Volume 4 came up and it was like, the whole thing's just different. It's a different series at this point. I think that's where we are. And if not, that's crazy. I don't know how many episodes we have this volume, but I just don't know how they can really drag it out. I think they said the whole, if I remember right, the whole volume's supposed to take place just within like the one day or something like that. So I'm hoping that that means we're going to have an amazing season. But ultimately, we'll just have to wait and see. But I did like the first episode. I'm excited based on the intro. There seems to be a lot of interesting things that are about to happen this volume. But once again, we just have to wait and see what happens. We'll see what stupid decisions are made, what smart decisions are made. I'm still Team Ironwood. I'm like, I don't know why he shot that dude, but he's not going to be a bad guy in my head. Like, that's just not going to happen. Because we wouldn't be where we are if they were just like, this is what's happening. They didn't want to trust the one dude. Like, it just didn't make sense. He's like the one person that's like probably the most logical person to even trust. And they were just like, let's not do that. That didn't make any sense. But we are where we are. Now they have to figure it out. Maybe they'll even realize, oh, damn, we are doing exactly what we told him not to do. And, common ground. I don't know, but we'll see. I would love to know your thoughts on this premiere, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it. What are your hopes? What are your worries, especially because with this volume, a lot of things could go wrong. But we just have to wait and see. But I would love to know your thoughts and theories, what you guys want to see in general about kind of where things are going. So I would love to know your thoughts on this episode, where we might be headed for this volume. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.